This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of the Tapped In Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Bud, here with Moneyball Ross and Data Mike. Mike and I are tired. We're coming off the road. I got home at 1 a.m. last night, and then Jetta would not go to sleep. She kept waking up, doing all that craziness. Sarah finally exported her to the basement and was like, "You're not coming back upstairs." You're not coming back. For those of you listening, Jetta is our French bulldog. Mikey, how'd you survive the drive back?
It wasn't bad. That stretch of road isn't always my favorite, but hit it at a good time of day, and it wasn't too bad. From the time I picked up the rental to the time I dropped it off, a little over 900 miles. In those,
wow.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So 3 days. That's a lot of driving.
I appreciate you getting our money's worth, Mike.
Yeah, for sure. The thing I double checked to make sure it was unlimited mileage. I'm like, I hope they're not charging us for this.
Have you ever experienced it where you don't put enough mileage on it and they give you shit about it?
I've never had that happen.
That would be like
one time I was returning
a car that I take.
One time I was returning and it was like, and they were like, "Well, you didn't put enough miles on it.
What?
So we have to charge you."
What?
Like, you gotta be. It's like, you'd be freaking kidding me here.
That sounds like you wrote. That sounds like you rented from a broke ass rental place.
You didn't use our.
Because I take mine back to National a day early, and they're like, "Sweet." The hotel does not like the tech checkout day early. They don't want to give me my room back, my money back. But you know what? I'll go National. They always say I'm happy to market for them free of charge. I tried Hertz, sucks. Never try it again. The worst.
I just did Hertz last week for the first time. Oh, well, not first time in a while. And it wasn't bad. It was an all right experience. I was expecting way worse, except for, so I land in St. Louis, and in their car rental pickup area there is just really goofy, right? And they have all those buses, the shuttles that take you to the thing, and I'm waiting.
It's not as bad as Denver.
And I'm waiting, and I'm standing there forever. And this one lady who was driving for another company had seen me there. She's on her second trip, and she comes back and opens up her doors. She's like, "Hey, honey, are you with us?" Or whatever. I go, "No." I go, "I'm waiting on Hertz." And she says, "Oh, darling, you're going to be waiting here for a long time because they're never going to pick you up." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" She says, "Well, they pick up. You have to go down that hallway, into the parking garage, hit the elevator, go to the top floor, go down to the brown section, and that's where they'll pick you up."
See what I mean?
Standing there for 20 to 25 minutes waiting for the Hertz bus. That was my only bad experience with them.
St. Louis might be the worst rental car place on earth.
Yeah, it was not friendly. No signs. No, I mean, there was nothing telling me that I needed to go over there to find Hertz.
Being from St. Louis, it's rather embarrassing, actually.
National picked me up and dropped me off there just fine. That's what it is. You got to use the National.
Right.
Well, today's episode, we're going to get in a little bit of news to start with on your podcast for beer distributors by beer distributors. We are looking at an article from Business Insiders, I think, right? Written by Emily Stewart, and the tagline, I mean, this is a little clickbaity, right? Like, make beer dumb again. So long, raspberry, hazy, double IPAs. Welcome back, cheap, chuggable beer. First off, cheap, chuggable beer never went away.
No.
That was always number one. Well and above.
Let me ask you this, Bud. Were you triggered by this? This thing came in hot as a subject for today.
Not triggered by it, but what I found interesting about it was it's written in a way that, like, we're trying to make it dumb again. And I don't think it's about making it dumb again. Like, I think Emily misses some of the points of where beer is going. And beer is going into, because it calls out Michelob Ultra as being the number one beer. Now,
Yeah.
Which it is. It calls out Garage Beer as a growing brand, which it is. It calls out Montucky Cold Snacks as a growing brand, which it is. And really pivots around this concept that consumers want something cheaper, not something more sophisticated. And that's not what we see in the market. And that's not the truth of the matter. What this is getting at is, and where the author misses the point, is that better for you is winning, a la Ultra, and better for you, also extremely profitable stuff, or extremely, well, let's think about it in the consumer's mind, right? To throw that wrench in the cheap world. Carbless Surfside Cutwater, expensive, uber expensive, all growing hundreds of percent year over year. So yes, cheap beer is growing, but there's also, I thought this would trigger you a little bit too, Ross, on your economic side. It's the bifurcation of consumers. Wealthy people and more better to do people are continuing to consume at the rate they have, potentially even higher value rate stuff. And the low income consumer is moving away from that middle market and gravitating towards the value market. This is the rinse and repeat of every challenging economic cycle that we go through. This happens all the time. This is not new, but she reads like it's brand new. Like, no, this is what's supposed to happen almost.
So do you want me to jump in there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is where you say, what are we talking about again?
Yeah.
What's going on? No, it's the K-shaped economy. And and for those of, people that are listening that are not as, into the economic side, what the K-shaped economy is kind of what we've seen since COVID, which is the upper end is doing well, right? So that part of the economy is like this. And then the other side of the economy is like that, right? Going downwards. So it's weird because you can walk around and two things can be true at the same time. One is you can feel like we're in a recession, right? Things kind of feel shitty. And you look around, you drive around our cities and things don't feel good, right? The people seem to be struggling. And then on the other hand, asset prices are going through the damn roof. I mean, we're setting new records on NASDAQ, S&P, gold. Gold pulled back a little bit, but, let's call it near all-time highs. I mean, it's damn near 4,000 right now. Everything's moving. And from the asset side, property values have stabilized. They've stayed stable despite high interest rates. And what's even crazier is the Fed's cutting interest rates into the highest stock market we've ever seen. So I think we have to go beneath the surface. I think, and again, I'm spending a lot of time talking about this, and some of you might be bored by it, but at the end of the day, we live in an economy and our consumers live in an economy. And I think it's important for us to understand what's underneath the surface that's helping us see things at the surface, right? Things that we know in our space. So part of the K-shaped economy is that the classical middle class is really, really under a lot of pressure.
Here's the K-shaped economy for anybody on the YouTube.
So, I mean, the K-shaped economy, I kind of explained it like, the high end with the assets, they're doing well, and then the low end's getting battered. But I would also make the argument that what this doesn't show is the damage the middle class is taking, the classical middle class. And what I mean by that is they're getting squeezed a lot in that inflation's still there. I mean, it's never gone down, and it's still moving at 3%. Money printing's at 6%. So, I mean, I could argue that the real inflation, true inflation, is somewhere between 3 and 6. But we're seeing inflation rage. Rage is a strong word. Persistent inflation above target, which is 2%.
Sticky.
That's another good word for it. So we're seeing that, and we're not seeing wages really rising, especially not at that rate. If you get a 5% raise, you did a great job, right? Well, that it barely treads water.
Remember that, Mikey.
Most people aren't getting that. Yeah, you remember that, Mikey. You're going to get 2% and you're going to like it.
Yeah, sounds great. Perfect.
I lost my train of thought. Thank you, guys.
What are we talking about again?
Okay, so the other side of it is we're seeing a lot of layoffs, and a lot of the layoffs from AI are hitting the white collar, middle management, analyst sector first. I don't think it's going to end there, especially as we see these autonomous robots come out onto the scene. But at the end of the day, it's a tale of two cities, right? We've got the middle class is getting hurt, and the middle class was our typical craft consumer, affordable luxury, right? You can go out and have, and I've often said this. I mean, the great thing about beer is that, for $8, I mean, depending on your market, and again, inflation, right? You can have the best beer in the world, right? The best IPA, the best, German import. I can drink the best in the world. Now in the wine, if I want to drink the best in the world, I'm talking $3,000, $5,000 a bottle. That ain't approachable, right? But in the beer world, I mean, there's very few things you can spend more than $8 on. I mean, yes, there's the barrel age and there's some of these the Belgians, but at the end of the day, you can drink the best in the world. And that affordable luxury is the same group that's having the Starbucks and treating themselves to that. I think that segment's suffering. So our low-end consumer is still there. And I think that, and for better or worse, I think so far that lower end consumer has been better handling the market and better able to change their wages in alignment with inflation, right? What I mean by that is like the trades. Like if you're in the trades right now, you're able to adjust your prices upwards to match the inflation rate. Whereas if you're in that middle class, you're basically stuck with these 3 to 5% wage adjustments into high inflation, and you're just not able to cope as well with it. So I think that there's a story to be had around that middle consumer and the K-shaped economy that are driving these things that are not what she's saying about how beer is just dumb again. I think that's simplifying things drastically for our industry.
Mikey, what's going on with your world with this too?
Talking about the wine and the complexity. I mean, that's a good tie-in to think back to the wine, and there's a direct correlation here to what was happening in the wine industry and the wine business prior to 2000, right? A lot of high-end, overly complex wine, right? All the labels, what exactly the region, the vineyard, and how many tannins, and all of this. It was so complex, all right? And the wine industry was just spinning their wheels, fighting for the same volume. And to the outside consumer, if you weren't a big wine person, you kind of felt a little bit like, ooh, I might want to try wine, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really want to do this. I don't know what this means, right? I don't know what I like. And it was just so complex. And then in 2000, right, then enters a new brand from Casella. So they were like, they looked at the entire market and they're like, this is so complex. And we need to bring more wine drinkers into the category. And how are we going to do that? We need to make it more approachable. Somebody comes in, they drink wine or beer or spirits. We need to capture that consumer as well and make it like a beer and a spirit. What is it? Straightforward, right? So then they came out with Yellowtail. What is Yellowtail? It is a label with a kangaroo on it. It doesn't even tell you where it comes from. No mentions of tannins, no mentions of the vineyards. When they launched, there was a white and a red, and it was wine, right? And it was priced a little bit higher than most value brands, but it was a straightforward, you want wine? Here it is. And their first year of launch, they blew away expectations, like 9 times more than what they thought they would sell. And by 2005, they're selling over 25 million cases. And they created this whole new market of, hey, it's just straight up wine. No garbage or things you don't understand, no language you don't understand. Just, you want wine? Here it is. And I feel like that is kind of where we're going in the beer industry right now, to where we went down that line. Super complex, right? I mean, you needed my decoder ring half the time to sell in that IPA to how many, the IBUs and what strain of yeast and where we're getting this note and this note, right? And we spent a lot of time selling those brands in, and there was a consumer for it. Well, I think that the market is speaking now, and it's showing us that consumer, that millennial, is now a dad, all right, or a mom working, and really, hey, give me what I need for the moment right now, right? And I don't need all this complex stuff anymore. Give me a straight up beer. I just need a beer for the moment that's going to quench my thirst, something straightforward and simple. And I feel like a lot of ththose labels now, I mean, if you look at garage beer, it's very, very simple, right? All white packaging. What is it? It's beer made for the garage, drinking in the garage, right? And it's that, hey, super approachable. There's nothing funny going on here. Let's just get people back into the category. And what the other thing that we know too is we've lost all of those moments, drinking occasions. We've lost a lot of drinking occasions. And with craft, I feel like a lot of craft drinkers want to be seen drinking that craft. Maybe it makes you feel like you're more sophisticated, or maybe you feel like you're a wine or a beer snob and you kind of know your beer, right? Well, without those moments, and we're just drinking in our garage, or we're drinking on our patios or in our living rooms, just want a beer. I want it to be cold, refreshing, and straightforward, right? So back to the basics there, which may in turn bring some more people back into the category, into beer that have left, right? Just like it did for wine. And what's fascinating about that, I just had this conversation this week. No, it was 2 weeks ago, the last onset I was on, about what's old is new again, retro beers. I mean, retro beers coming back has been happening for a while now, and I've seen a lot of younger, especially younger females, back to drinking Budweiser, right? And a lot of these retro brand, I wouldn't even call it retro brands. I mean, they are the OG brands, I guess, right? Are getting some more traction and some more turn. And I feel personally, I feel like it's not because it's a retro brand and you want to look cool. It's what is it? It's straight up beer. My grandfather drank it. My dad drank it, right? There's nothing else I need to learn about how many IBUs and where it came from and all that good stuff. It's straight up beer. So I feel like that's kind of where we're heading. And I don't like the verbiage that the article used. I don't feel like we're dumbing down the category at all. We're simplifying it, and we really needed to simplify it. Drive people back to it.
It was responding to consumer preferences for simplification in that way. You know, and a lot of the stuff that is doing well is incredibly simple, and the market's responding to it. I was in this wavelength. I do think I misread the market in that there will not be Cutwater will get another year of free reign. There will be no Cutwater copying this year in ABP season. I haven't heard anything from ABP season reviews around a bunch of Cutwater copies. But we saw a lot of it in at least I didn't see any Cutwater duplicates or twins. It was a lot more on the THC and functional beverage space. It wasn't like Cutwater in a slim line like I thought would happen a couple episodes ago, that would be the main driver. The number one driver in beer beverage alcohol is brands getting on the NA train, and more brands getting on the NA train. And that is actually where a lot of people are spending their time, to the point where we're rephrase that. I'm hearing from distributors that it's oversaturated now and it's too much, and that retailers are starting to push back on the complexity of the non-alcoholic space as well. True. So to me, it misses the article around dumbing is clickbait, simplifying is the actual true what's happening, and responding to consumer preferences around that simplification and looking for something easier.
You see that happening too. The fastest growing categories right now, RTDs, right, and vodka-based seltzers, spirits-based seltzers, and teas, and they're super simple products. Cutwater doesn't lie to you, right? You want a lime margarita? Here it is. You want a lemon drop? Here it is, right? Vodka soda. How much more simpler does that get? Hey, here's a vodka soda with a splash of raspberry. It's very simple. You don't really need a PhD in hops to describe or to know what you're about to drink.
I mean, I think you made a good point, Mike, around the social occasions. I mean, we've circled around this, but you're not showing up to poker night with the boys with a 1.5 of Yellowtail. Like that's I mean, you're like, dude, what are you doing?
I might have a couple friends that would do that. They don't really care.
That's a good way not to get invited back to poker night, man.
But yeah, it's the occasions too, and I've always said that. We saw it happen firsthand with COVID. What happened when COVID hit? Craft took a nosedive, and everybody's like, "What's going on with craft? What's going on?" And what happened? Right, premium, sub-premium, they just boom right through the roof. You're going to the store and you're drinking at home. I don't really care what label I have in my hand. Am I going to spend $12 on a 6-pack? $12 on a 12-pack? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, because I don't really need to be seen with it.
The next thing we kind of wanted to pivot to was moving in to the direction around taking advantage of some of this chaos around how do you take advantage of some of these developing opportunities. And Mikey, really, like you and I have spent the last couple of weeks out in the trade with folks and talking about you focusing on your kind of center of expertise around how do we do coaching sessions with sales reps and leaders that are tired of pushing dead end, projects or dead end products, and are just continuing to spin their wheels and to move in a different direction. So like, if you are reading this article or seeing these opportunities on the high end where that wealthy consumer is moving in the direction and you've got brands you can take advantage of, but maybe you haven't fully focused on them. Like we've been in some underdeveloped high end markets recently. And how do you start to get to take advantage of them? And we've been in some really value driven markets where they're already capturing that consumer. So it's really about finding and uncovering these uncover opportunities. So if you're a team lead, like where do you start by taking this macro kind of news cycle and what's going on and start to put it into practice with your team out in the market?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we're talking about the people that have the actual feet on the street. So I'm sure they had a read on this well before the headlines did, right? And see it coming. And space. I mean, it's all about space. And if we have space in that cooler and it's doing us no good, then it needs to go, right? And if you've been on site with me here, if you heard me talk, I always talk about our spaces like it's like Monopoly, right? That is my property, that is my real estate, and all of my properties in this cooler need to be making me money. And if they're not, no matter the brand, no matter the supplier, if it's not making me any money, it's not doing me or my company or the retailer any good. So when we're looking at these coolers and we're looking at our shelf sets, and I would imagine, and I'm not picking on craft here by any means, but I would imagine that we're probably still over indexed for space in most accounts with craft. Right. And when we see this and we're like, yeah, but we're still pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm not saying, hey, go out there and replace all your craft, but you need to optimize your space. You need to be looking at the space you have in there, you know, at least on a monthly basis. Does it still make sense? Because the times are changing. It's just like when we saw the seltzer boom, right? And we had four facings of seltzer, but it was the hottest thing out there. But we were still trying to push everything else that just kind of quit working. We have to adapt. We ask our suppliers to adapt and pivot on their toes, and we need to do the same thing. So we need to be looking at our coolers. All right, hey, if this is what's moving the needle for us right now, we need to make sure we have enough space. It's in front of the eyes of the consumer. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about display space. We're telling these stories about where the consumer is going, why they're going there, right? And just analyzing total accounts. I mean, nobody's
It's like
really
the hardest thing to do that though. Like it is one of the hardest things to do with all of the stuff that's on a distributor sales rep's plates right now, with the number of accounts they've got, managing their online orders that are coming in from retailers they're not seeing every single week, to managing all their PFP stuff or anything else that they're trying to get done, and the surveys. If you've got surveys and you are on that side of the aisle where you're got an unbelievable amount of surveys, like how do you model the time to like pick your head up and get into a little bit of strategy from time to time and be like, why do I just keep sending the same thing in over and over again and rotating the same thing over and over again and expecting a magical different result? Like that's one of the hardest things for a rep to get around.
It is. It's what's been engraved into our head for so long. Keep trying, right? And then it goes out of code and we try it again. But that's when we have to break that cycle of like, all right, I have to analyze my entire cooler, my entire count. What is working? Can I expand on it? What's not working? Can I fix it or replace it? Right? I need to do that consistently. I mean, if right now in this day and age, if your accountant has a full shelf of, let's say, Monaco, something like that, and that's the only full flavor RTD in there, that's where we're like, all right, well, we need to get some space because we need to get our full flavor RTD in. Right? Or if there is any competitive vodka soda singles, we talk about singles all the time. It's such an incremental grab. It's a great way to grow GP. If there's any competitive, that's when we're like, all right, I need the space. And then our head goes, well, I can't create the space. Can't make this cooler bigger. Where am I going to take it from? What's not making me money in this account? That's when we start analyzing and going from the top. What do I need? Because this is working and I need to expand on it. Or I have nothing playing in this field over here. I need some space. Where's it going to come from? And that's when we start going down our cooler.
If I were a rep, I'd be doing an 80-20 rule to start with. So I'd focus on the top 20% of my accounts that made up 80% of my volume. And you might need to have a little bit of help from a sales analyst or an SEC to tell me who the top 20% of my accounts are that make up on 80% of my volume. And I would have that list. And those are the people that I'm going to spend extra time with. And then after that, I think it's hard, Mike, to review the whole cooler on a regular basis. I would treat it like cleaning a house. I'm going to focus on one section each visit. and I'd break it down into sections like single serve, big packs, craft, NA, energy, like non-beer NA, and whatever else. And every, you've got 4 or 5 categories that you're going to focus on. And every single visit, you're going to try to do one thing in the top 20% of your accounts to improve that section of whatever it is for your sales, and just make little mini improvements. So if you're in the RTD core door as a category, can you add net new placements that are going to drive? Can you take those 4 packs that aren't moving that well and break them into singles to get them to move faster? If you're in your single doors, do you have the ratio of single door, your single placements working right? Do you need to expand something that is moving really fast and is always out of stock when you're in the set? Do you need to cut something that's really slow and has moved on? The market has moved on from whatever that was. If you have a legacy SKU that isn't turning anymore. If you're in your big pack area, do you have the right thing on display? Do I have something else I could put along with that big pack that's incrementally profitable in some way? Those are things that if I were a rep to digest it and bite this apple one by one and we'd eat the elephant one by one, you'd have to find a way to slice and dice it. Right, Ross?
100%. Real quick before Ross jumps in there, but I 100% want to back up exactly what you said, because chunking it up like that is going to help take that overall burden off of. We look at our total account and we're just like, dang, right? When we chunk it up and we're just absorbing these smaller bites. But there's one thing I want to add to that too, and I feel like, as reps and even as team leads, when we walk into these accounts, we really fall into the trap. We get so complacent, right? We walk into the accounts and we do the same things every week. That's what we do. We become so complacent that we walk right past things like POS that expired 6 months ago. Maybe it was, Christmas themed, and now we're in
some of that shit is legacy. That is retro. Whether it is or isn't, we say that.
Right. But
if you know what, it's like a fashion. Eventually, it's going to come back in style. So
that lady in the King Cobra 1982 poster is retro.
That's a hot commodity now.
We don't want that to go away. We're not talking
in Trump's America. In Trump's America, it's in vogue again.
God. But yeah, so I think trying to break that complacency, break it up a little bit, right? Interrupt your routine once or twice. Look at the store differently. Don't go right to the cooler. Maybe come over here. But also, most importantly, separate yourself from the competition. And what I mean by that is look around total account. Where is the competition not playing? Right? I go back. I think I mentioned a couple times that blue ocean strategy. Hey, our red ocean is where all this competition is in this cooler and this shelf, whatever it may be. We're all competing over the same space here. When we kind of break away from that and we look at total account and find some blue ocean, some different space that the competition doesn't even exist in, that's all ours. We're not competing in that space anymore. We own that space, whether that's where I want my display, whether that's where I want my incremental impulse item, whatever it may be. I want that space because competition is not there. So breaking yourself up, looking at that, looking at total account and looking for those opportunities is key.
Ross, when you think about operationally and some of the forecasting work that you did, this is where you need to align a little bit with that operational side of your brain too, and think through like, how am I going to support any adjustments that the team might be trying to make around these items too? You can't just do it on the front end and not digest it on the back end as well.
Yeah, I mean, I the one thing I was going to add to that was know the consumer that's coming to the account, tying back to that bifurcation of the economy. But I think we've always felt that the decisions and the actions are made at the account level, like Mike was saying, right? So it's 100 little decisions made across your entire sales team to move towards the consumer, whether that be the single serve, going into parts of the account that we've never been in before, whether it's, we can't go an episode without saying good to grow.
Sponsored, not sponsored.
Sponsored, not sponsored. People are going to think that we are. I know.
100%.
But it's a great incremental opportunity. And, Toyota had this idea of Kanban, which is, they sell a blue Camry and it signals back that you need to produce another blue Camry. operationally, you need to be moving quick to absorb and adjust and order into what your reps are selling, I should say, and what the consumer is buying. So you just need some degree of flexibility in your forecasting. And the worst thing you can possibly do is get in a situation where you're out of stock and living shit out of all these brands that the sales reps want to sell. And then they get burned because they get it placed, it sells, and they go to reorder it and it's not there. So I think that's where you're alluding to too, Bud, which is one of the worst things you can do from an operations perspective is handicap your sales team in terms of out of stocking. But worse than that, it creates a culture of I don't trust that you'll have it. So just make sure that that's not a situation.
And most of the trust is derived out of the retailer, not from internal team. From my perspective, when you have an out of stock problem, like it's inherently happening, some operations get worried about creating those problems so much that they don't do some innovative things around it. And I'd rather have the problem and solve the problem, let sales create an operations problem and solve the operations problem, versus not have the sales problem create the operations problem. That would be, I would rather create an issue on the sales side that turns into an operational issue, because you're going to get more done that way. And the other element of this too is that when you're modeling this out for a manager too, Mike, you watched me do this a bunch, is when you have a data-centric team or a team that wants to listen to data, a lot of times what you need to do is just nudge people in a certain direction around, hey, have you noticed this? I saw this. I found this very interesting. And ask it in the form of a question. It's leading the witness. But if you're doing it right, you're uncovering something that they might not have seen yet. And then you are somewhat making a leap to hope that they do something with it. But we did that a lot together, and it usually stuck. What made that stick for you and Tommy and the rest of the sales team, Mike?
Really gets the wheels turning, right? There's two different approaches, and we talk about that a lot with culture, but I'm going to get two totally different results out of a rep or anybody if I just say, hey, go do this, versus, hey, did you think about it this way? And then they start thinking about it and like, no, yeah, well, I guess I could do, you know what? Yeah, I'll do that. And now it's their idea. We've dealt with some people in our life that no matter what you wanted them to do, it had to be their idea, right? And if you wanted somebody to do something, you presented the opposite, knowing that they would not agree with you and say, well, we should do it this way. All right, cool, let's do it, right? Those types of personalities. But when we ask the question and we have the rep or the team lead start thinking on their own of like, okay, now they found the solution on their own. It's also their idea. Now they're like, yeah, all right, that makes sense. Let's do it. But great approach.
Ross, it's like, we don't want to tell our wives what we should do because we both have made some of these mistakes before. Maybe have you considered?
Have you considered?
Have you considered? I removed should from my vocabulary. That did a lot of good things for our relationship.
I'm gonna use that.
Hey, let's shift this to a relationship podcast. Never deal in absolutes.
Never deal in absolutes.
That's my free advice to everybody.
Free advice. I've found that if I pat my wife on the head, it drives incredible results around her facial expressions.
Oh my gosh. You don't pat her on the head, do you?
I have before. It's very funny. She's used to me being a smartass about that stuff. Oh, I love it. Well, what's fun about this is that we get to be out in the trade and we get to watch some of this work and model this on a regular basis. And some of it is really entertaining to watch reps kind of grab it. I was with a group yesterday that reminded me of our group, Mikey. It was very chattery, very shooting the shit, picking on each other, having fun right away. And it's always fun to kind of see that attitude. That's what makes the industry so great when you're out in the field and you can get the team kind of humming on something and they're asking questions and they're being serious, but they know they're not taking themselves too serious in the process as well. And, it's tough out there and there's a lot of headwinds in the industry, but we have to remember that we're still selling beer. This is still fun, and we can be serious without taking ourselves too serious, and we can win in ways that we maybe not have thought about anymore. If you start to ask these questions and start to move in this direction with, have we thought about this? Have we considered, are there ways to get this done? You know, what else could we do better? You got to be open to a lot of new things right now.
I saw a great meme the other day. It reminded, I have a close friend that this fit perfectly, but I started buying my coworkers Get Better Soon cards. Get well soon. Not because they're sick, but they just need to do better. I thought that was genius. Come on, do better, bro. Get better.
Oh, I love it.
But no, I saw a lot of that too, and it always makes me smile. I've told a couple teams, like, "Oh man, you remind me so much of our team back home," and it's fun to see people having fun. That's what this industry is about, or else why are we in it, right? The beer industry is the best industry because it is fun, hands down. And we sell fun. That's what we sell for a living. We have to remember that. We have to reintroduce the fun to people. Hey, beer is fun still.
One thing I did see on my travels this week, I'll share my phone camera screen real quick, is that I was in the airport coming back home yesterday, and there it is, screen. And where is that at? There it is. And I was able to, this is to go. So we're obviously in Wisconsin from a location standpoint, but this is to go 12 packs in the airport behind security. I mean, this is, the market working, free market working, $32 out the door for a 12 pack of Spotted Cow behind security to get on the airplane.
Then you can just take them and hopefully chill them down real quick and drink them on the airplane and not have to pay $11 a beer.
You're not. I mean, they say it when you're getting on the plane. You can't drink your own alcohol.
They sold singles as well, and they said must consume, like the little, like, a sign's going to stop me from putting it in my bag. But they did say it needs to be consumed before you arrive on the airplane.
Oh, really?
What?
Yes.
How the hell are you supposed to drink a 12-pack?
Well, they were selling singles. This was at the convenience store in the airport, so they had the 12 packs to go, but then they had some singles and 12-ounce can singles that they had broken out on the shelf with the water and everything else, so you could grab those to go too. So, you can't hate it. You gotta love it. But we had a 12-pack down here already, so Sarah was like, "No, do not carry that all night home. Do not carry that all night." I
saw first on this trip too, driving through America's Dairyland. I saw two very large cows, which all cows are pretty large, mounting each other, one full mount and the other, and driving down the road.
I don't even know where this story is going.
I'm not making this shit up, man. It caught me by surprise. I'd never seen this, and I looked. I'm like, oh my god! I mean, they have to do it, right? Because they have to reproduce somehow. But
we have to procreate.
I guess I had never pictured what that really looks like in my head. And I don't, if I never see it again, I'll be okay with that.
That's like the part from Happy Gilmore. How am I supposed to chip with that going on, Doug?
Yeah. I didn't grab a photo of that, but
I was talking about the cheese curds and from Culver's, because we have Culver's over in Michigan, right? It's and that's Wisconsin. That is where Culver's, I think, has started. So they got cheese curds on the menu. And they were like, "Oh, you can't count those as cheese curds." And I'm like, "Well, we're from Michigan, so like we know that they're not good, but they are cheese curds, and they still don't suck." And they're like, "Oh, well, we're gonna solve that problem." We went to a restaurant at lunch, and they ordered cheese curds right away, and they were incredible.
I bet.
Incredible. I love it. Well, I think we'll wrap that up for this episode. You guys rock. If you like what we're doing, you can hit us up at info@vxptech.com. That's info@vxptech.com. You can send us listener questions, call us out on our bull crap, and say, "I don't agree with you." Would love to have that as well. And would love to take some listener questions. Mikey, you're back on the road again next week.
Yes, sir.
One more week in a row. Thanks for doing 3 weeks in a row. We appreciate you, big guy. And I'm going to try to recover a little bit more after a long travel day. I had a massive headache, and then I took Excedrin, in the lounge, in the airport lounge in Atlanta, and then like hit work mode again at like 8:30, and like didn't calm down again until 1 a.m. when I got home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the caffeine was strong within my blood last night.
Yeah. Speaking of spouses and selling in, right? It was a hard sell in after being on the road for 4 weeks to say I'll be home long enough to pack my stuff and go to deer camp with the fellas. That was a hard sell in. And there was no way to spin that like it was her idea. So, but hey, you know, going to deer camp.
Tis the season, right?
Let's go to deer camp. Yeah.
Tis the season. Are you gonna get anything this year? You don't actually go out and hunt at deer camp. You guys just go up and drink now, right?
It's more about the occasion, bud. Right? That's one of those drinking occasions that'll never go away. Hanging out in the woods with your buddies for 5-6 days, and that's the experience.
Don't forget the yellowtail, man.
I might bring some deer camp this year.
Mike's dissertation on the background of yellowtail was pretty incredible, right, Ross?
Well, I literally on the plane to Vegas, I was listening to that story. That's why it was so fresh engraved in my head. I heard the whole thing, and I didn't do it justice. But if anybody really wants to do some more research on it, you should. It's a fascinating story.
It's probably people that are too young to remember it, but it was such a phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
It was so huge, and it permeated the culture of the business where I first started at major brands. It was an ongoing story that permeated the culture, that it was passed over, that the wine team sat around, they sampled it, and they said, "This is shit. No consumer in America is ever going to drink this garbage, so we'll pass." And then it turned into this behemoth of a brand.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to like, it's not what you like; it's what the consumer wants.
Absolutely. And tapping into new consumers, right? That's what that brand was all about, bringing new people into the category that were afraid to approach wines because of its complexity. So, and they obviously accomplished that.
Well, great episode, boys. You guys rock. And for those of you listening out there, continue to like, listen, and subscribe, share with a friend, and we will see everybody again next week. Cheers.
Cheers.